And then, finally, at last, there were four. Right, Derek? The Final Four is upon us.
What are we doing? The hand motions?
Yes, don't you ever? Yeah. Every player does that, right?
Well, they do three for 3-pointers.
No, but when they win and they get into the Final Four, they all take pictures like this and they do four fingers.
I do remember a Dane Fife Jared Odell photo where they were holding up the fours.
One of the Arkansas guys when they won did like a West Side. Like I didn't know what that was. I was like, whoa, but
I don't know if we want to be flashing any gang signs.
I couldn't do it like he.
Yeah.
But anyway, at any rate, greetings, salutations. This is the incredibly creatively and appropriately named, charitably award-winning Query and Schultz program here on ISC Network. And Derek, we are down now to four, and there are no real major surprises. UCLA, I realize, is a surprise, but look, it's a big-time pedigree program. You know that they've got good players. They've got a guy who really coaches defensively, and then Gonzaga, Baylor, Houston with Kelvin Sampson. Plenty of storylines, and then the other big storyline from a local standpoint, Indiana now has their guy.
Yeah, I think little surprises in the sense that clearly the two best teams in the country, and they were this way all year, are still alive, Gonzaga and Baylor. And there's probably a separation between those two. I mean, this Gonzaga team is not only the best team in the country this year, they're probably one of the best teams of the last decade and maybe even longer than that. And I'm not just saying that because they're undefeated, because, clearly playing in the league that they play in, it's a little bit easier to run the table in a league like that than it is anywhere else, not to discredit them because they've been completely dominant. But I think we've seen a pretty fun tournament here. And a lot of teams that we had, I mean, did you know anything about Oregon State or USC?
Oh,
I hadn't watched 1 second of Oregon State or USC play basketball
about Oregon State. I have Oregon State socks. I have an Oregon State T-shirt.
Okay, well,
I
know you
cup.
like the Beavers and the mascot, but you didn't actually know much of the what was centered around the basketball team itself. Oregon
Payton.
State men's basketball. Yeah, he played there 30 years ago.
That is about right, yeah. That is correct.
Okay, I guess you did know their most famous basketball alumnus. But still, yeah, it's a good group of teams. I actually kind of found myself, I usually root for the Big Ten teams. I found myself rooting for UCLA. After all of the chaos of the tournament, I just didn't feel right with it being 1-1-1-2. You know what I mean?
Right,
it felt like it was preordained that it was going to be UCLA just to crash the party, if you will, of the Final Four.
Houston, in watching Houston, I think it's interesting. Everybody, it seems to be like this inevitable fate, this Baylor-Gonzaga crash course. They were supposed to play in the regular season in Indianapolis. COVID canceled that. Now they're in the Final Four. Don't sleep on Houston. Admittedly, Houston has periods where scoring is a challenge for them, but defensively and just pace-wise, they are so tough. I'm telling you, I'm not saying Baylor is going to be beaten by Houston, but I don't think Baylor just waltzes right through.
No, I don't think they waltz right through. I just feel like we've been on a collision course for Gonzaga-Baylor really forever, and I would be stunned if, and this is no offense to Baylor, who I think is really good, I would be shocked if it's anybody other than Gonzaga.
Now, let's get to this first. And breaking down the Indiana coaching hire and Mike Woodson and Thad Matta, who is the curveball in all of this, and I've given this a lot of thought and talked to a couple different people, and I haven't heard a lot of discussion about the Matta aspect of this that I want to get to coming up in our next segment. But let's begin with in focusing on the Final Four and the local angles of it, Derek, and Kelvin Sampson. Look, I know that Indiana fans or college basketball fans in general, Derek, want to say, and I've seen a lot of people outside of the IU fan base say, well, Indiana, like, how foolish do they look? Because here they are scrounging for a coach, and Kelvin Sampson's got his teams in the Final Four, all because of a rules violation at Indiana that's not even a rule anymore. Like, he got pulled over for going 39 and a 35, and they stripped him of his driver's license. How ridiculous, how embarrassing for Indiana. No. Here's the bottom line. No one has ever questioned that Kelvin Sampson knows how to coach the game of basketball. No one's ever questioned that. His teams play hard. His teams guard. It's been that way all the way back when he was at junior college to Washington State to Oklahoma to Indiana. When he came to Indiana, he brought with him, Derek, baggage of an ongoing investigation of a rules violation that took place when he was at the University of Oklahoma, or Oklahoma University, I think it is. And He said, and I'll never forget this, when he was asked about it in his press conference, well, that's just a rule we didn't take seriously. He didn't say that's a rule we didn't understand. That's a rule we didn't take seriously. Say what you want about the rule itself and whether or not that rule was enough to ouster a guy. The bottom line is, Derek, he had a rogue program. He had guys that were not going to class. He had guys that were allegedly selling drugs. He had guys that were bad apples and bad characters that had no business representing the university. And what he worried about was winning basketball games. He was brought in by a president of the university that at the time of his ouster was no longer there. That president was the one that basically mandated that he be at least interviewed for the job. Wink, wink. So you're going to have to hire this guy. And he flat out can coach. But Indiana needed an out because they had all kinds of issues from a discipline standpoint taking place under his watch, and he gave them the out with the rule violation. So that's not the reason he was fired. It gave Indiana the out to give them their out to say, we're done.
But they had no choice. This was major stuff. Like, there was no way they could have kept Sampson on the staff with what had happened and take all that punishment.
I mean, once he got the show clause, a 5-year show clause, correct.
That too.
But what I'm saying is they fired him, if I'm not mistaken, even before the show clause came.
Yeah, I think, or was he forced to resign or something like that? I don't remember what the exact verbiage was there. But it's revisionist history to suggest that there was a path forward for Kelvin Sampson in Indiana. I mean, that was a major, major you-know-what storm. And it was, yes, it technically was 39 and a 35. But, you know, if you're like my buddy Stolman in California, if you get enough traffic infractions, you eventually have to go to traffic school, and then they threaten with taking your license away and even jail time. Because if you get enough speeding tickets, then you start to get in trouble, and that's what happened here. I think what's more interesting, Jake, is kind of talking to Indiana fans this week and asking them. I kind of put up a poll, and it sort of mocked some of your polls with signature songs, but do you hate Kelvin Sampson? And a majority of people said no, because I don't think they care anymore. You know, he's not relevant to your life if you're an Indiana fan. That was 13 years ago. He's at Houston in the AAC. What relevance does Houston basketball have to Indiana? None, right? He's not at Michigan State or
Except
Iowa.
for that they're playing in the Final Four in Indiana.
I guess. I mean, sure.
Okay, how about this?
I don't really think it really connects anymore.
Let's let's pretend in this case, let's pretend that Houston beats Baylor. Gonzaga is on the doorstep, and I think you could say, look, I thought 2015 Kentucky was a certainty they were going to go undefeated, right? Go 40-0. And Wisconsin became world heroes. But Gonzaga, it looks like, is going to match 32-0 1976 Indiana. 1976 Indiana, who defeated in the Final Four UCLA and Michigan. Gonzaga is going to have to defeat UCLA in the Final Four because they beat Michigan. But it is possible that Gonzaga's last hurdle between themselves and matching the most beloved team in the history of Indiana University basketball is going to be Kelvin Sampson. And Kelvin Sampson might be the guy that stands for the honor and defends the honor of Indiana University.
Well, it is interesting, the fact that the last two teams that have gotten this far in the tournament while undefeated have both lost in Indianapolis with Vegas.
Last three.
And then
Oh, you mean prior to Gonzaga?
Yeah, prior to Gonzaga. Yeah, of course, because Gonzaga's playing here, but they haven't had the chance to play in the Final Four yet. But you saw Vegas, who worked out at North Central High School in 91,
correct,
right? And then, of course, the Kentucky team. I was at that game against Wisconsin. I think the difference between Gonzaga this year and Kentucky that year, Jake, is that Wisconsin and Duke were really, really good. Correct. Now, this Baylor team is good. If you airdrop this Baylor team into other seasons, I don't know if they have the same success necessarily. Whereas if you airdropped that Winslow, Okafor, that Duke team, or the Kaminsky, Decker, Wisconsin team that was loaded with NBA players, I think they would be successful regardless of what year it was.
I just think Gonzaga, Derek, I think Baylor's really good, and I think Houston's really good. But Gonzaga's at a completely different level in their offensive efficiency. The way that they move the ball and have everyone on the floor can shoot, everyone. And, I mean, it is Boom, 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 score. Boom, 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 score. You give them a second of daylight, and it's over. I mean, I really did think USC had the horses where I thought, they might sneak up and surprise. They might pull the upset of the tournament here. And 3 minutes into the game, I looked up and I said, it's over.
Yeah.
It's over.
USC had been shredding people, too.
I know.
mean, they shredded Oregon. They shredded Kansas, and then they got shredded. So to see them,
it was over.
Yeah, to see them get dirt rolled like that, I think was a surprise because I really thought that USC might cover.
Dirt rolled.
Yeah, it's another term for being blown out. It's like a trendy term.
I've never heard dirt rolled.
Dirt rolled, yeah.
So what's it called? If you're in a game, you know how you have those games where, what's the name of that boat that was just stuck in the Suez?
Oh, I don't remember the name of it, but I know. Yeah, obviously everyone knows what you're talking.
So
about.
You have some games where your team
Greenway or Green, wasn't it Green something?
Look that up.
Okay.
Because you always have a game. Every
Boat
team
stuck.
If
in
your
canal.
team is really good, and you're just used to them being a juggernaut. There's always that one game where you're midway through the third quarter and you're like, what is going on here? Like they're just shots aren't falling and the ball's going out of bounds off guys and we're just like nothing's going right for us. This is brutal. Like what's going on? And you start calling your friends.
Ever given.
Yeah. So that's called now being ever given. My team last night got totally ever given. What do you mean? Well, they were just stuck. They were stuck in the Suez, and you thought it was just going to be smooth sailing, and just never happened.
That sound doesn't really roll off.
How about
the tongue.
Suezed? They got Suezed. They completely got Suezed.
No,
I think that sounds pretty good.
No,
it's better than dirt rolled,
ragdolled, dirt rolled. Let's
curb
just kind of
stomped.
stick
You come
to
up with
the
these
basis.
stupid mafia terms.
Basics.
No,
mafia term.
Curb stomped.
Well, I guess there may be some lineage to the mob.
You think?
Might be. Not really sure. I should actually check the lineage on dirt rolled. I want to make sure that we're in a good spot.
You know what I think dirt rolled?
In 2021, you got to be careful.
You know what I think dirt rolled might be?
What's that? Yeah. Well, it's basically decriminalized and mostly legalized, so I'm fine with that.
Saying.
Not that that's a topic maybe for a different show.
Okay,
but
I'm just saying.
But I'm excited about this field just because I think you still have the two best teams left standing, and it's very rare in the NCAA tournament that you have the two best teams left standing.
Right.
And you do with Gonzaga and Baylor. And you're right, this Houston team's good. UCLA has had a really nice run, and I kind of, when they got to the Sweet 16, I thought they beat Abilene Christian, which is basically a high school team. They beat, I think, was BYU one of the teams?
That may be right. I got it right here.
Whoever they faced in the 6-11 matchup, I'm trying to think of who the 6 was. I think it was BYU.
Let's see where UCLA came out. They had to win that play-in game, right?
They beat Michigan State at Mackey, a game that they trailed by double digits. I watched that game in the first half, and I thought UCLA doesn't even belong in the field.
They had to beat Michigan State.
Yep.
Then they beat BYU.
So it was BYU.
Then they beat Abilene Christian.
Yeah, so at that point, I'm like,
Alabama's
whatever.
good. Beating Alabama's good.
But then they beat the 2 and the 1. They beat Bama, and then they beat Michigan.
Look, they have a really good point guard who is a very smart player. They've got a wing that can score, and they guard. It's the three things you need. What do we have to get to today?
We got a ton to get to. Still have to get to IU naming Mike Woodson and how that all played out. Jake has a lot of sources and people that he talks to, so he'll lay that all that out for you. I don't have the same sources. Really, my job on this show is to bring kind of the analysis and intelligence with it. Of discussing these topics.
What about the
issues.
sexiness? I'd like to know where you bring in the.
Oh, that too. Yeah, sorry,
No,
I didn't know. I didn't want to be shallow.
I think if we took a survey, people would say that there's easily more sexiness radiating from this side of the table.
I think generally with like the 60-plus crowd, there's probably some of that over on that side of the table for you. Okay. I think more of like the younger, in the prime of their life crowd. There's more attraction over on this side because that's what I am.
What we've learned here, those of you watching this program who have already been eligible and had your vaccination shot are preferring right here. Those of you who are not, the hazmat group right over here, right? I look washed out again.
How you guys doing over
Is
there?
it the lighting here? I think it's the lighting. I look washed out again.
You're fine.
I look like a light bulb.
Would you stop? You're kind of like insulting my coworker here. Jordan does a great job.
He does
engineering
do a great job,
and putting everything together,
but I just
and
need
you
some
are
water.
you are being critical of his work by saying that there's some sort of a lighting issue.
Coming
which
up
doesn't
on the
exist.
show today, we will get to Biter Bull Schultz, brought to you by the Shop Indy. That is theshopindy.com, 920 Broad Avenue or Clay Terrace. We, of course, always have our Love That Play, our favorite play from the week, brought to you by the good guys at Love Heating and Cooling. That's love-hvac.com. Our American Dairy Association of Indiana Winners Drink Milk Winner of the Week, one of the most fun things that we do. And once again, we are happy to say that we will be emceeing the fastest rookie luncheon in the month of May from the American Dairy Association of Indiana. But when we come back, Indiana has a new basketball coach. It is Mike Woodson. They also have a new associate athletic director. And could there be some strings that come with Thad Matta, or a reasoning for Thad Matta being in Bloomington that perhaps hasn't been explored a lot? We'll talk about exactly that coming up when we return to Query and Schultz here on ISC.
We're a different breed, aren't we? While others rest, we choose to work. Where others are content, we stay hungry. They may not see us coming, but we know exactly where we're going. You won't rest until you succeed. Neither will we.
You can't get enough of us.
You can't get enough of us. Good one, J-Man.
This is the worst scandal. This might
This
even
is
be
worse than steroid. Not so fast.
Are you going to watch the XFL?
I'll probably watch a little bit of it.
You want to go through and pick some games?
No, I don't. No, I don't. I really don't.
Indiana dairy farmers provide us with safe, pure foods for our tables. A responsibility that takes intuition, resolve, and determination to make sure their milk is good for you and delicious to taste. Their connection with our community runs deep, passed down through the generations, ensuring that milk is always available at your store. It's not easy being a dairy farmer, but the rewards have special meaning when you can feed Indiana's families every single day. Learn more at winnersdrinkmilk.com.
Oh, my God.
We are ripping fast today.
How hard can it be, right?
These are now selling for about $3,500. So we're back to our old ways of pulling rocks.
Act like idiots on camera, open cards, and talk about the hobby.
Welcome back. It's Query and Schultz. Thanks so much for joining us here on ISC Sports Network. Alongside Jay Query, I'm Derek Schultz. Our thanks to WGU of Indiana. They are the sponsor of this segment and our sponsor really since day one, I think, here on the program since the relaunch back in September.
Very good to us.
Many of you had been eagerly anticipating and now are salivating over new episodes every single week. If you're salivating over a new education, go ahead and head to indiana.wgu.edu and earn your degree on your own time.
I was thinking about this, Derek. It's a fitting sponsor for this program because one of the beauties of the way that we do this show is you really can watch it or listen to it on demand, right, from the number of different places.
Whenever you want.
So
wherever you are.
You know, we may record this week, for example, on Wednesday because we waited until the Final Four was set. But then you watch it over the course of the week or listen to it on how many different places?
Oh, Spotify, iTunes, Spreaker, iHeart, everywhere.
So iHeart.
Yeah, we actually still have our iHeart channel. They never took that down.
We're allowed in the building?
I don't know. They never took it down.
Okay. So at any rate, at any time, it's on demand, basically. That's the beauty of WGU, right? Indiana's largest accredited online university where basically the education is on demand. You do it based on your schedule because ambition never rests.
Yeah, you could be in your jams, in your sweatpants, earn your degree. No bottoms. Whatever you want
bottoms?
to wear. Well, like in the summertime.
Why do you have to wear bottoms in the wintertime?
No, I just meant like in the summer when especially if I'm just alone in the house and I'm just kind of lounging around, it's kind of hot. I'll just put a t-shirt on.
You have boxers on.
No bottoms is just you're in the house. Is that too much? I think most people do that.
What are we doing here? What are we doing? We're talking about you walking around nude?
Well, no, I sleep like that.
Do
but
we need a
sometimes
little disclaimer in the top of the show?
It's not nude. It's no bottoms. It's as I'm preparing for bed, and it's hot, Jake. It's the summer months. Like I'm barely sleeping with just sheets.
You walk around your house commando.
Well, I have a shirt on, so it's not completely exposed.
Okay. I like this hat from the Indy Card Exchange, by the way, who was nice enough to have us out and to tell me,
That is sharp.
despite what Derek Schultz and Greg Rakestraw said, that my baseball card collection from childhood, yes, indeed, has value.
It does.
Okay, so Derek, here's what we know about the Indiana coaching position. Mike Woodson is hired. I don't know that that's a huge surprise, a mild surprise, because there were other names out there that I think Indiana explored. Brad Stevens. I don't know that Chris Beard ever actually got a phone call. I don't know that, but that's kind of my hunch. Woodson was a guy that, because of his background and the fact he's from Indiana and he coached in the NBA, you kind of knew was your safety fallback. And I don't mean to say that they ended up with their safety fallback, but let's be real. Their first preference was Brad Stevens. No knock on Mike Woodson. Here's what I believe took place. And I want to run this past you, and then you tell me how crazy you think I am. Do you have your tinfoil hat?
I'm ready. I always have my
You
tinfoil
want to wrap
hat
that
with
tinfoil
you.
and put it on?
Sure.
That's a cool hat.
That is cool.
So,
There we go.
when Scott Dolson, the athletic director at Indiana, knew that he had a head coaching position available, that became available because a group of boosters came to him and said, we want to buy out Archie Miller. It's over. It's done. That is fact. Indiana's on record that that's fact. So, I don't think there's any doubt in anybody's mind that Brad Stevens, understandably, was Scott Dolson's number one call. So there was contact made to either Brad Stevens directly or Brad Stevens' camp. At that point, I believe that Brad Stevens, not knowing the certainty of his future in Boston, said, I'm not saying that I wouldn't have interest in this potentially, but I can't right now. I'm the head coach of the Celtics. I want to ride this out and see what happens. If you can wait until June or July and I'm no longer the coach of the Celtics, we can explore something here. And I believe that Indiana said, we just can't wait that long.
Mm-hmm.
We have transfer portal. We have players that, the carousel of players. Believe it, we need a coach. Now, the one thing to me that's peculiar at that point is Mike Woodson's a guy you could have hired in August if that was the case. He wasn't going anywhere. But they went ahead, I think partially because of the transfer portal and everything else, they wanted this situation resolved. But I believe that when Scott Dolson went back to whatever boosters it was and said, it doesn't look like right now the timing is going to work out for Brad Stevens. I think those boosters said, okay, then let's focus on the guys that we would then prefer you to take a look at. And Mike Woodson was the top of that list. People of influence within the university who have ties to basketball highly suggested and recommended Mike Woodson. Mike Woodson, who has thrown his hat in the ring in the past, but the biggest difference between now and other times when this job became available for players that played for Bob Knight to really push in and go for it is now it doesn't come with any sort of a stigma of a slight to Bob Knight because he's come back. And truth be told, I don't know that the situation with Bob Knight in terms of his health and everything else. But Bob Knight, because he's been back on the floor at Assembly Hall, you don't have to worry about it looking like a disrespect to Coach Knight by taking the job. So Woodson could push all in. Quinn Buckner could push all in for Woodson. Randy Whitman could push all in for Woodson, and they may not have done so 5 years ago. But during the Plan B route, Scott Dolson talked with Thad Matta. Thad Matta got hired as the associate athletic director at Indiana to oversee basketball in a non-recruiting role. I think, an open disclaimer, this is me simply tea leaves off conversations. I have not been told this, whatever else, but to me, they're dots that very easily align. This is where I want you to tell me if you think I'm crazy.
Okay.
I believe that Scott Dolson talked to Thad Matta to gauge his temperature, not only about the coaching job, but probably about Brad Stevens as well. And I think Thad Matta said to Scott Dolson, I'm not going to lie to you. I don't know that I have it in me to coach anymore. From a health standpoint and an energy standpoint and everything else. But, Scott, what I'd really like to do is get into administration. And Barry Collier is not going to be the athletic director at Butler forever. He is eventually going to retire and has done a wonderful job of laying out the footprint. And I would actually like to eventually take over for Barry Collier as the athletic director of Butler University, but I need administrative experience. I've never been an administrator. I've been a basketball guy. I want to transition myself.
Yeah, no, I'm going to take this off because I think that's all very likely that it could have happened that way. I don't know as much of it being the Butler thing as just Thad Matta wanting to be involved again. You know what I mean?
Understood.
When you've lived and breathed basketball.
Involved in a different capacity.
Sure,
with the game.
yeah.
Now, for Scott Dolson, because this is the question a lot of people had. And look, I love Thad Matta. I mean, as a guy, disingenuous to say that I'm hanging out with him at the Illinois Street Food Emporium. But, I mean,
yeah.
I remember when he got the Butler job, and I was working at Channel 6 at the time, and Licklider had left. I think it was after Licklider. And Thad Matta's calling us in his office like, guys, man, talk me up for this job. Like, I'm telling you, I want this job. He could not have been cooler. He was a great guy. And so Matta, and he'll get you to run through a building. I mean, you know, he's an energy guy. Where does Thad Matta fit into this equation? What if Mike Woodson was and I know, look, I get it. Every Purdue fan, every non-Indiana fan, everybody's going to laugh me out of the room for even continuing to mention Brad Stevens' name. I 100% understand that. But when Brad Stevens started at Butler, who was the head coach?
It was Matta?
He was the director of basketball ops or whatever else in Matta's first year, right?
I'm trying to get my timeline because Matta wasn't at Butler for super long.
Mike Woodson is 63 years old.
Mm-hmm.
That's not – I mean, Jim Boeheim's 74. So, I mean, he could coach for 10 years. He's got a 6-year deal. But what if 3 years from now, 5 years from now, Brad Stevens says, you know what? It didn't work out with Boston. Danny Ainge and I are at complete wit's end, and my opportunities are to go coach the Memphis Grizzlies or to go back and coach Indiana with Thad working there. Thad maybe slides back over to Butler in an administrative role, but Thad is going to bring me into Bloomington. I have to believe there has to be some sort of a precursor discussion there in that case, and that Mike Woodson, only because Mike Woodson is not a 20-year guy. Clearly, he's not the 20-year guy. I do think that Mike Woodson is a very good hire for getting Indiana back to a footprint of where they need to be, and by that I mean running a program that is run a way that Indiana fans have come to know and be proud of, which is guys that are pretty decent human beings that are going to go to class and are going to represent themselves and their university well. Not that Indiana hasn't had that for the last 5 years. They have. It maintains that. And I do think Woodson can coach. I think Woodson from an X's and O's standpoint
I'm not worried about him as a coach. I think, Matta, whether, we're taking kind of the long view on this and what could happen in the future, it's all speculation. I think that there is something to your points about that. But I think more than anything else, Jake, they bring in Matta to help Woodson navigate these waters because Matta's run a program. He knows how to do this. And so it's almost like having that shoulder to lean on, which would be important for Woodson, making a quarter-century transition out of NBA basketball, where he's been his entire career, to now in college.
Now, Derek, a lot of people have asked me, and I'm sure you as well, why is it so important to get an Indiana guy? Why do they have to have an Indiana guy? Here's the answer that I've come up with. And it's going to sound like a slight. It's not intended to. It's just what makes Indiana different, okay? We're going to do a little drill here, a little game. We're going to name 3 programs in college basketball. Give me 3 blue bloods off the top of your head.
Duke,
okay.
Kentucky,
okay.
Carolina.
Now, I'm going to mention a team, and you tell me the first 3 alumni players that pop into your head.
Okay.
Duke.
Jay Williams, Shane Battier, Christian Laettner.
Okay. Kentucky.
Jamal Mashburn, Anthony Davis, and Kyle Macy.
Okay. Carolina.
Michael Jordan.
Okay.
Sam Perkins.
Okay.
Vince Carter.
Okay. Jay Williams.
Sorry, that's really random, but you said just what popped into your head.
No problem.
That's what popped into my head.
Jay Williams, lottery pick for the Bulls, had a motorcycle accident, now a dynamic television personality.
Yep, ESPN. Mm-hmm.
Shane Battier, played in the NBA, became known as like a glue guy for 10 years, 15 years in the NBA. I think won a ring.
Is he coaching?
Not sure what he does now.
Okay.
Christian Laettner played on the Dream Team, only collegiate on the Dream Team. Okay,
was
NBA
fine.
career.
Yeah, perfectly fine NBA player.
Laettner would be perhaps the one star that I'd put here for Duke with my point, which we'll get to. Kentucky, Jamal Mashburn.
Mm-hmm.
Dynamic player, NBA star, played in the Dallas Mavericks, where else. I can't read my own writing here on who you said second.
Anthony Davis. Dynamic NBA player, sure.
I mean, huge NBA star.
Yeah.
Kyle Macy, pretty much Kentucky blue blood, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Kyle Macy, a little star. North Carolina, Michael Jordan, greatest player ever to play. Sam Perkins, Jordan's running mate, played for the Pacers, played
long
for the
career.
Sonics.
Yeah, long pro career.
Vince Carter, slam dunk champion, Toronto Raptor.
Probable Hall of Famer, yep.
Give me the 4 players that pop out of your head with Indiana.
Ooh, Calbert Chaney, Damon Bailey, Steve Alford, Jared Jeffries.
Okay. Damon Bailey, great player, legend. Damon Bailey, most known for the guy that Bob Knight recruited in the 8th grade. Steve Alford, great player, legend, most known for winning a national title with Bob Knight at Indiana and an Olympic gold medal. Calbert Chaney, unbelievable player, most known for broke his foot in high school out of Evansville. Harold Wooden Award winner, went to the NBA and played for Washington. Okay, Indiana. Isaiah Thomas, different story. There is a higher percentage. There are exceptions to every rule. Macy, Laettner, to an extent here. But for the most part, at the Blue Bloods, Indiana has the highest percentage of former players whose relevant ceiling is their time playing in Indiana. And so as a result of that, we as human beings have a natural tendency towards gravitating and sticking towards that in which we're most comfortable. And for those guys, their most comfortable thing, their home, is going into Assembly Hall and being able to sit around and tell the Coach Knight stories and be around other guys whose relevancy peaked, quite frankly, during their time playing for Indiana. And don't get me wrong, I love everything they contributed, and I would be 100% the same way. I 1,000% respect it. It's not a slight at them. But there is a greater emphasis for Indiana to have an Indiana guy because Indiana's alumni base has a much shorter tentacle of Velcro towards Indiana basketball than it does at North Carolina, Kentucky, Kansas, UCLA.
And I think they've never done it. So people wanted this time there was a real push for an Indiana guy because it's been 20 years post-Knight and they've never had an Indiana guy. The only guy with any ties to the program at all was Davis, and that's because he was on Knight's staff.
Right.
and they had to elevate him. So I think that's where that comes from. You're much more tapped in than I am. But the one thing that I heard very early in this process was we know we have people that really want this job. So we're going to go – I was told it was going to be a long process because they were going to go look around knowing that they had people that were interested in this job.
Right.
And that lines up with what happened. It was no secret that Mike Woodson wanted this job. Mike Woodson's wanted this job 4 years ago.
Right.
So I don't think that was the surprise. I think the surprise was that Indiana finally said, yeah, you know what, let's give this a shot.
Right.
But I'm kind of with you. Like this talk about Porter Mosier and all this stuff, like I don't think that it certainly doesn't appear that Indiana was ever real serious about any of those guys from outside the family. I think it was Stevens, maybe Mata, who knows about this Holtman thing, and then let's look through the Indiana guys.
I think Chris Beard would have been intriguing. The thing that bothered me was when Chris Beard, when Texas became available because Shaka Smart left, and I heard a lot of people saying, and I'm not saying Indiana was one of them, but I heard a lot of fans say, well, but Beard now, he's going to get that Texas job. Since when is Indiana a program that is not the alpha? Indiana is suddenly taking a back seat because of the assumption that Texas is going to come in and take their date?
That's where they are, though. That's, that in the 21st century, it's a parallel job with Texas. Indiana's much closer to the Texas job than it is to the Kansas job.
No, I understand that, but if you've got, and I know Woodson's like
you're talking about
million,
Indiana's mindset when it comes to this. I don't think Indiana's mindset changed.
When Kentucky realized they had a problem with Billy Gillispie, you know what they said? They said, "There's the door."
Yeah.
Who's got John Calipari's phone number? And they called up John Calipari and said, "What's it going to take? What's it going to take?" When Kansas needed a coach, probably the best young coach in college basketball at the time was Bill Self, who I think had spent 1 year at Kansas as an assistant tenure. You know what they did? They picked up the phone. They said, "What's it going to take? What do you need?" They didn't mess around.
What bothered me about this
when
whole
North
thing,
Carolina had a problem with Matt Doherty, what'd they say?
and I think it's commendable that Indiana did this. And what kind of bothered me about this was that a lot of people, when the Woodson announcement was made, people were saying, "God, you paid $10 million to get Mike Woodson." No, you paid $10 million to dump Archie Miller.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like that. Those two decisions are independent from one another. There was no way that they were going to bring back Archie Miller for another year.
I think two things need to be pointed out to be fair in totality here. Okay, number one, I don't think Archie Miller's a bad guy. I don't think Archie Miller did anything maliciously to cause himself to lose his job in Indiana, except for he just didn't win enough.
He didn't win at all. It's not just not winning enough. He just didn't win.
Right. I mean,
Tom Crean didn't win
enough. But no knock on him as a guy, right?
No,
I mean, it's not
sure.
like he's a jerk
whatever.
or whatever else.
Yeah.
He's just kind of there, right?
Mm-hmm.
And for Mike Woodson, nothing against Mike Woodson as a coach or it may very well be a very, very good hire. We don't know. He was a fantastic player. By all account, he is a wonderful human being. He came highly endorsed by people that he has worked with in the NBA that have ties to the state of Indiana that said, yes, he knows X's and O's as well as anybody, and don't look at the record. Yeah, he won 43% of his games in the NBA, but that's because he was put in positions where he was the cleanup guy.
Well, he was with two franchises that never won anything.
Right.
In the Hawks and the Knicks.
And he
won.
Hawks, the Hawks, he turned him around,
Yeah.
right? So
same for the Knicks.
You know, now Larry Brown, is Larry Brown interested in coming and joining the staff for Mike Woodson? Yes. He is interested. Does that mean it's going to happen? I don't know. He is interested.
Pass. I really hope not.
What Mike Woodson needs to do now is get two really good assistants. One who is young. Mike Woodson, I think, if he gets in the living room of a kid, can close it. Because he can say, look, I coached in the NBA. I know that your dad's more familiar with me than you are, but do you like Carmelo Anthony? I coached him. Do you like, whatever. He's got a long list
Ray
of guys
Allen,
he's coached.
yeah,
right.
A bunch of guys. Allen Iverson.
So, and those guys all apparently really, really respect and like him.
Mm-hmm.
So he is a very nice, as I understand it, man. So, but the problem is he's got to get in the front door first. So he's going to need one assistant that can go out and hit the pavement and sell him to get him to come in as the closer. And then I think he's going to need 1 to 2 assistants that are real. Now, you don't need to be like Villanova and have 47 people on your staff, but he is going to need really good X's and O's tacticians, even though he's a very good X's and O's coach. 1 to prep before games, and then 1 to assist with in-game things because stuff is flying past you so fast. Those are the 2 things he needs. And in that regard, Derek, that's where I hope that Mike Woodson goes out and gets – he's got a long track record of a lot of coaches he's worked with. I hope he gets the coaches that are best for that as opposed to filling it out with a bunch of guys because they played at IU 5 years ago.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you. And you know what? On the flip side of that, if I'm Michael Lewis and I'm an assistant on a team that just went to the Final Four, yes, Michael Lewis certainly loves Indiana. Why would I leave UCLA?
Have you been to Bel Air?
Yeah, why would I leave that job? And if I'm Fife with Izzo getting up there in age, am I thinking to myself at this point, I've sunk a decade into this program. I know how to recruit here already. Maybe I'll just wait around for a little while.
You know, the Fife thing is intriguing because he is an assistant coach there, but and I don't believe he's the associate head coach, correct? He is?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think what happened was when
sorry.
Painter wanted him to be associate head coach, Michigan State, to keep him there, made him associate head coach.
When this year, if I'm not mistaken, Tom Izzo missed a few games for COVID reasons. I don't know if Izzo had it or for whatever, but he missed a few games. And it was the other assistant that led the program in his absence.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I was thinking of. That was peculiar because you would think if he's the heir apparent, it would be Dane Fife.
Yeah, see, I don't know the whole dynamic there, but I know that he is the associate or a associate head coach. Maybe that other person is also associate head coach. I don't know how all of that works.
Overall, though, you like the hire?
I like it because Indiana has nothing to lose. They can't be any less relevant or interesting than they are right now. So unlike when you moved on from Crean, there was the chance that things could get worse, and they got worse. Things can't get any worse. Indiana was basically unwatchable the last 4 years.
Unwatchable.
Yes. It was a terrible brand of basketball, not only because it didn't win, but because – it fell on the floor. But because
get it? I wanted to
it
wear
wasn't
the hat.
fun.
I like it. It's a good-looking hat. I know.
You're trying to beat people 55-50. That's not fun. It's not modern college basketball. It's not modern basketball, period. So I was willing to talk myself into whoever it was, Jake. And so I'm not going to lie to you. When it was announced that it was Woodson, I thought, whatever. But I've talked myself into it because Indiana's got nothing to lose.
The one thing hyperbolically that I thought to myself, surely this is not, we got to go more here on phone calls and Foot Lockers, is if Indiana felt accelerated on when they had to get somebody because they were worried about the transfer portal, there is a part of me that thought, wait a minute. So, did you settle for somebody because you wanted to make sure that you secured
Race Thompson,
Armand Franklin and Race Thompson?
Come on.
I mean,
nice players, good kids, and the transfer portal works both ways, Jake. You can add players just as easily as you'll lose them.
Doesn't my face look fatter with the hat?
No, I'm not going to do this.
I think it does, kind of.
Not going to. No, your face doesn't look fat.
You don't think so?
No. I mean, if we're commenting on physical appearance, it's hard when this is on one end of the table. You know what I mean? It's hard. I understand. It's a challenge for you.
What did you brought in gifts today, I noticed.
I did, yeah. We'll get to those here coming up in a little bit. We still got our features to get to. Colts make some news.
These are fun. Look at this.
And Victor Oladipo is not going to return.
What a shock, Derek.
To Indianapolis tonight.
What
so
a
we'll have
shock.
all of that for you. Also, you played 20 questions with some downtown servers about college basketball, and I thought that was kind of fun.
I did.
So we'll discuss that as well. Plenty to get to as we continue.
These things are
Q&S,
fun. These are
ISC,
good.
stick
I like
around.
These. Okay.
Indiana Dairy Farm, long workdays stretch into more labor after sunset. A newborn calf needs watching, barn needs cleaning, tractor needs some handiwork for tomorrow's tasks. Just like in your own home, the day's chores are never done until the family beds down for the night. Dairy farmers and their families share the same dream with all of us, that what we all do is worthwhile. Bringing to market pure, safe, and healthy dairy foods is what they do, from Indiana's dairy families to ours every single day. Learn more at winnersdrinkmilk.com.
We're a different breed, aren't we? While others rest, we choose to work. Where others are content, we stay hungry. They may not see us coming, but we know exactly where we're going. You won't rest until you succeed. Neither will we.
Your life is on the go. Now your viewing habits can be on the go. With the ISC Sports Network app, your team is at your fingertips. You can download years' worth of content from the ISC Sports Network library. High school, college, special events, weekly and monthly shows, wherever you find your favorite app. And you can always find out more information at iscsportsnetwork.com.
Derek, I'd like for you to do me a favor if you could and extend your right arm. Just extend your right arm. No, yeah, extend it out. This actually kind of grosses me out because these.
Yeah.
I mean, we're going back to
Smack me.
What is this, 2005?
Dude, this is like 1995.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, snap-on bracelets. So here's the quick story behind this. There was a woman on Twitter. I'm forgetting her name now. I sent her a thank you card. Was it?
That's nice of you.
Was it Becky? Becca? Bertha? No, it wasn't
Bertha.
It wasn't Bertha.
Bertha.
It was a B.
Okay,
Bonnie?
Bertha. We'd like to thank
Bonnie?
Bertha.
Bonnie sounds right.
Okay.
I can't remember what her name was now, but she was a marketing person with Miller Coors, and she had a tweet about, hey, I found a whole promotional box of old stuff from like the 90s, including Zima snap bracelets. And somebody tagged me on that tweet, and I wrote back something like, oh, my God, awesome. And she DM'd me and was like, hey, if you're really into Zima, I can – sorry, I've got something in my throat.
Is it
I
Zima?
can send
Do you have Zima on your throat?
Yeah, I'm so excited about this. I can send you a couple of these snap-on bracelets. So I had her send them to my LLC, my mailbox.
LLC.
Yeah, my mailbox. Schultz Media LLC.
Is
Downtown mailbox. No
is
big
that
deal.
like Stefan's trading cards?
Yeah, kind of the same thing, except it's an actual physical address, not a P.O. box. Because to license kids, if you license your own LLC, you need an actual physical street address. You can't do a post office box. And she sent me a couple of these Zima things, so I thought it'd be fun to bring in to
you
play
gotta
with.
snap it on me.
Yeah.
You gotta snap it on me. This is my watch that Jim Jackson liked.
Yeah,
Ow.
that's right.
Good Lord.
It's tough because it barely fits around my forearm.
But you just did that like you got to do it on the wrist, not like in the middle of the.
No, you got to make it hurt a little bit.
Okay. All right.
Rolling around with no bottoms.
Hold on. What? This is kind of cool if you do it this way.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think?
Let's talk Colts here real quick. It seems like years ago, because in this news cycle, it's really difficult to talk about things. You know, we taped last week's episode, on Tuesday? And I think this thing that I'm about to talk about happened Wednesday. The T.Y. Hilton signing feels like it was a month ago.
Right.
But we technically have not had the chance to react to that. So a one-year deal, $8 million with incentives that could reach 10. What was interesting to me about it, Jake, was Chris Ballard apparently was holding the line, and Irsay came in and said, look, let's get this done. And so you haven't seen that very often where Irsay has played that trump card, but he is the owner, and it appears that Jim Irsay is the reason that T.Y. Hilton is still an Indianapolis Colt.
I think T.Y. Hilton, Derek, we are going to find out. Oftentimes we certainly saw it with Reggie Wayne. Reggie Wayne extended his career and was a great, great player in the lore of this franchise, partially because once the speed went away, he was such a good route runner that he became a possession receiver for them and a darn good one. And got another 3 or 4 years out of himself. T.Y. Hilton's entire MO has been his ability to obviously get behind the defense with his speed. Once that inevitably has started to taper off, can he be the over-the-middle possession-type receiver for them? The Colts' trend has been to have great receivers that in the twilight of their career, part of their responsibility is to mold the next great receiver. Marvin Harrison to Reggie Wayne to T.Y. Hilton to, could it be Pittman? That would be the thought process. So perhaps that grooming period and that transition is as much a part of this one-year deal as anything. But you can absolutely be certain that they're going to do everything they can to make sure that they're getting the most mileage out of him as they can.
Yeah, I'm not sure if he is going to ever be like a possession-type guy, but he is an elite route runner. So he still has that, even if the speed has taken a little bit of a hit. But I just like it, Jake, because you don't really have any other guys at wide receiver right now. We don't know about Pittman yet. We certainly don't know about Paris
I think
Campbell.
Pittman's pretty good. Pittman is very good once the ball's in his hands. The question is, how good is he going to be at making sure the ball gets to his hands?
And you have the money to spend. I equated it on Twitter. It's like, you're kind of like this. It's like people that are psycho about their diet. Like, you can have a donut. You're not going to die. The Colts spending $8 million on T.Y. Hilton, who cares? That's not going to affect anything. It's a one-year deal. Even if it hits $10 million, who cares? You have the money to do it. Go ahead and do it. When you're on vacation, relax. You don't need to run on the beach with your wife and then post about it, all right? Chill. You're on vacation. Nobody cares that you worked out. You can skip a workout for a couple of days. Relax. So I like the fact that Ballard holds his line, but chill, brother. Like, it's okay. You can stick your neck out a little bit to pay T.Y. Hilton a little bit more money.
If you skip one day and have a donut, that very easily becomes 2 days and 2 donuts, and then 3 days and 3 donuts, and before you know it, you're Jabba the Hutt.
I don't know. Maybe it's wrong of me to speak because my metabolism has just remained off the charts, and
lucky you.
My body is just machine-like when it comes to processing that stuff. So, and most of it goes to muscle.
Let me tell you something. You are, 32?
How old do you think I am?
You're like 38 or something like that.
Yeah, okay, 38, yes. Sorry, I thought you were serious for a second.
Just wait. 45 is where, did you ever ride roller coasters as a kid?
Yeah, I hate roller coasters, but yes.
When you're riding the roller coaster, and then at the very end, when it comes into
motion
the
sickness.
when it,
I hate roller coasters, man. I am not a thrill seeker.
Sickness.
I am not a thrill seeker.
That's shocking to me.
So I hate roller coasters. I hate like camping and like bungee jumping and like all this other stuff. I hate it.
Okay, you go through the car wash?
Yeah, even though that makes me a little squeamish too, where you have to get your wheel exactly in the wheel well.
But when you go through the car wash, it pulls you through, right?
Yep.
You're moving at a nice steady pace. And then at the very end, you get off of the little wheel well thing, and everything just kind of slows down to a stop.
Yeah.
That's your metabolism at 45.
Okay.
It's going at a nice pace, and then you hit 45, and it's like, what just happened?
Thanks, Dr. Jake.
You have that to look forward to.
Well, if I have to throw my ish around 2 times a week instead of 1 time a week, I will adjust.
Throw my ish around.
Like, this body is going to remain in peak physical condition.
Okay.
Yes. Just wanted you to know that.
Okay.
What were we talking about? We're talking about the Colts.
We're getting ready to do our Love That Play from Love Heating and Air
That's
Conditioning.
right.
Family owned and operated since 1920.
One more thing. 17th game. which is now going to get agreed upon, and Tom Brady and the Buccaneers, his final game in Indianapolis, which I thought was topical at the very least. I don't think Tom Brady cares. I think everybody in Indianapolis cares.
Well, do we know it's his last year playing?
No, but I mean that very likely this will be I forget what the formula is. I don't think they're playing – Rakestraw will know this. I don't think they're playing the NFC South again until like 2020 – 2023. Okay, so –
you're saying the final game that
it would have to be 2 years from now, the next time that they play the NFC South, which I think, the Buccaneers would be here because the last time they played in Tampa.
This game with Tampa Bay that is added is at the end of the year, correct?
I think that's right, yeah.
So it is possible if Tampa has a big drop-off year and is not a playoff team that Tom Brady's final game of his career could be
I
played
think
in
we have to wait for the schedule release to see when the primetime games are and all of that. So I don't know if it's necessarily exactly the end of the year as much as it is just the 17th game just getting tacked on there. It doesn't mean that it's going to be the 17th game in the schedule. I might be wrong about that.
Okay, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't understand any of it.
I don't understand why we need it.
Right.
It's a solution in search of a problem.
I would agree because, in my opinion, Derek, the NFL is the 800-pound gorilla. No question about it. But NFL ratings have gone down a little bit. Just overall interest. Part of that is because you don't have necessarily the housewives or the non-football fan men or women that are playing fantasy football at the rate they were 10 years ago. I mean, that was such a huge explosion for NFL interest. But in the NFL, it's still light years ahead of every other league. Don't get me wrong. But the NFL fatigue is real. I don't know anybody that was pining for more games of the NFL.
Well, I know people that were pining for more games, but I'm not necessarily one of them.
Tuesday night NFL Network game between the Chargers and the Jets.
Yeah.
There were times where people were just like, "Oh my gosh, like I need 2 nights away from this." Please.
And now teams are going to be 8-9, and hey, we had a 13 and I got to do math. Let's see, I'm an IU grad. 13-4 season. It just sounds stupid. What do we do with the records? Do we have like the
single season
16 game records and then the 17 game records and then the 14 game records? And
to your point, does anybody, when people talk about O.J. Simpson having a 2,000-yard season and then they talk about Terrell Davis or Eric Dickerson having a 2,000-yard season, or Chris Johnson, does anybody point out that it was 16 in that 14 game? I mean, you have some people that point that out, but
I don't know. This was always going to happen because the owners want more money, and they can say, well, it's still 20 games because the 3 preseason games. No, it's not. Preseason games aren't the same thing. We could stop pretending like those are the same thing. They're not, but you know that they're going to do it that way. Let's get to our Love That Play. 353-2141, love-hvac.com. You know what we've kind of lacked in this tournament, Jake, for all of the drama and the surprise?
I know where you're going with
is a signature moment. And I thought we had the chance to have a signature moment, but this team that had this signature moment ended up losing in overtime. I know
exactly what you're talking about.
But I think the only buzzer beater, right, of the NCAA tournament to this point was Alex Reese and Alabama forcing overtime against UCLA in a game where they ultimately obviously lost in the extra frame.
Okay, I will go with, by the way, Love Heating and Cooling, love-hvac.com, been around since 1920, family-owned business, great product, 24-hour maintenance, which is huge.
Oh, it's Love Heating and Air Conditioning.
What'd I say?
Heating and cooling.
Did I?
Yeah, try to make sure you get that right. Because I heard that some people have a problem when you say heating and cooling. Not
Love Heating
name
and Air
names,
Conditioning?
but
Love Heating and Air Conditioning. They sponsored the 1986 Red Sox at Allisonville Little League. I think maybe then it said cooling on my – because, I mean, they knew we were cool, right? We were cool under fire. Sean Malone would be on the mound. We were cool under fire, right?
Yeah, Cold War. I mean, you had to be. Serious stuff, right? Yeah.
You're right.
I don't know, but I read books about it in libraries.
It was the
antique
the heart of the Cold War. Yeah. You're right about that. But nonetheless, I will give for Love That Play from Love Heating and Air Conditioning, actually just kind of encapsulating coming off of that, and that is UCLA's last minute against Michigan, and Michigan as well. I got to give Michigan credit, Derek, for Juwan Howard coming up with not one but 2 in the final closing seconds.
Yeah.
Really good looks. I mean, Michigan got really good looks, and the ball just simply didn't drop for Michigan, but they were well-orchestrated plays, including one with 0.5 seconds left. But UCLA was in position to in both of those, I mean, UCLA defended it as well as you could defend it. Michigan offensively executed it as well as you could execute it. That was just really good closing minute basketball with the Final Four on the line between two really well-coached teams in Michigan and UCLA. So I will actually give my love that play to both of them for playing it the way the game, that's what you go to watch.
Yeah, it was, to be honest, it was hard offense to watch for 40 minutes. I mean, it was not a great offensive basketball game, but I love the intensity and the magnitude of the moment when you can feel it through your TV screen, and you felt it because those teams knew what was on the line.
I'll tell you my one other love that play. The official in the Gonzaga USC game, Brett Smith, I believe is his name. Brett Smith, when he collapsed on the court, I'm not going to lie to you, Derek. It has not bothered me much, really at all, what I went through in October. I don't dwell on it a lot. I know that might sound crazy, but I really don't. That was difficult for me to watch. I mean, because I thought he had a heart attack. And it's very strange and surreal, having been a victim of a heart attack, to see what you think of someone having a heart attack and think like, oh, my God, like that happened to me.
Yeah.
And I wasn't in front of a nationally televised audience laying on my back. Now, one of the trainers that was tending to him is a mutual friend. I'm not going to say which because there were a handful of people around. I don't want anybody to get in trouble, but sent a picture of him to let us know that he was, not to me, but sent it to my friend who sent it to me to let me know that he was okay. I did not tweet it out, but I got that picture probably 10 minutes after it happened.
That's nice, big smile.
Of the official, smiling that he was okay. But I will give huge credit, and I wish I had his name, the trainer for Gonzaga. He was on him before Smith even hit the floor. He saw it out of the corner of his eye, but the natural instinct and the impulse to be able to be there immediately and tend to him, I can tell you, in that moment, you just want that comfort of anybody around you because you're like, what is happening to me? Now, it wasn't a heart issue, as we know. I think he just fainted.
Mm-hmm.
Probably hadn't eaten, or maybe his blood sugar was low or whatever, and he fainted and hit his head. And fortunately, he's okay. But in that moment, not knowing the severity of it, the natural, not even thinking about it instinct of the Gonzaga trainer, I thought was impressive.
Yeah, and all, doctors, trainers, healthcare workers, you're just wired that way.
Amazing.
We'll be driving in the car, and my wife, who's a trauma nurse, will be like, see somebody on the side of the road or something. Should we stop? And something's happening. I'm like, what are you even talking about? Like, I'm just looking at the dashes going by.
You're absorbed in your own world?
I mean, that's one way to put it.
Your phone's dinging. Did you not
I
put
know.
it on
Yeah,
silent?
sorry. We've got a lot happening here.
But what's going on?
It's Bert, by the way, the referee's name. Bert Smith.
Oh, did I say Brett?
Yeah, it's okay. I forgot what his first name was, too.
Okay.
I get text reminders sometimes of things to correct on the show.
Was that Bert
on my
pinging
Apple
you?
Watch? Yeah.
Is that a new watch? What's with the big plastic case around it?
So it doesn't get dinged.
Well, it's dinging the entire time we're on the air.
No, I mean,
do you not have something that can actually stop it from dinging?
So it doesn't get scratched.
Actually, I'm not worried about the watch getting dinged. I'm worried about the show getting dinged by your phone that's getting dinged by somebody telling you that it's Bert, not Brett, or Brett, and not Bert.
I come prepared for the show, so I'm tapped in, and I have a laptop. What do you have? You have a Zima snap bracelet and
fun.
Some of the same. Are you just writing your name over and over again, or doing the Superman logo on
My
that?
watch is the one that Jim Jackson liked when we were on Final Four. Remember, we were doing an interview with Jim Jackson.
That's right, I remember.
Who's really rising here as
yeah, for sure.
And remember, at the end of the interview, he was like, "Hey, man, I like your watch."
Yeah, it's because it's a multi-$1,000 watch.
It is.
Yeah. Whereas this was $110 on eBay. So
is that a real one?
A little bit different. No, it's a knockoff Apple watch. Yes, it's a real Apple watch.
I thought maybe it's an apricot. Do you like my apricot
watch?
Sorry,
I don't have your, what is it, $5,500 watch that somebody gifted you.
It's a little higher than that.
Okay, well, whatever it is.
It's a Panerai.
Okay.
They've gone down a little bit, though.
Well,
they've gone in the opposite direction of Jim Jackson.
Talk to me in 5 years. I'm still on year one of my LLC, and then I'll have Panorec or whatever, Panorec, watches and all of that stuff. I'll have all of the riches.
Is that a Granny Smith?
Come back with more features, and I think we're just going to end the show abruptly today. I think I've decided, yeah.
Okay. All right.
I'm starting to lose interest.
We still
in
need to
spending
get to
time
our
with you.
Winners Drink Milk winner of the week, right?
That's right. We'll do that next. And the shop's Spider Bowl Bleep as well. It's Corey and
Spider Bowl
Schultz.
Schultz, yep.
ISC Sports Network.
We're a different breed, aren't we? While others rest, we choose to work. Where others are content, we stay hungry. They may not see us coming, but we know exactly where we're going. You won't rest until you succeed. Neither will we.
You can't get enough of us.
You can't get enough of us. Good one, J-Man.
This is the worst scandal. This might
This
even
is
be
worse than steroid. Not so fast.
Are you going to watch the XFL?
I'll probably watch a little bit of it.
You want to go through and pick some games?
No, I don't. No, I don't. I really don't.
Indiana dairy farmers provide us with safe, pure foods for our tables. A responsibility that takes intuition, resolve, and determination to make sure their milk is good for you and delicious to taste. Their connection with our community runs deep, passed down through the generations, ensuring that milk is always available at your store. It's not easy being a dairy farmer, but the rewards have special meaning when you can feed Indiana's families every single day. Learn more at winnersdrinkmilk.com.
Oh, my God.
We are ripping fast today.
How hard can it be, right?
These are now selling for about $3,500. So we're back to our old ways of pulling rocks.
Act like idiots on camera, open cards, and talk about the hobby.
It is time for, Derek, the Milk Facts. Do you have the Milk Facts sheet in front of you? If not,
I
have
think
it right
you've
here.
got it in front of you.
Would you like me to read it?
Sure.
I mean, I know this pretty much by heart by now because
We
chocolate
really
milk is a
should
part
know
of my
this
life.
by heart.
I would agree. The American Dairy Association of Indiana wants to remind you that when it comes to your workouts, and if you're not working out, now is just the time to start your workouts.
You can email me if you're not working out. Derek@QuarionSchultz.com. Give some tips. Put you through a regimen.
What tips do you have?
Well, you just said if you're not working out, I want to help our viewers.
What workout tips do you have?
Well, it depends on who we're talking about here. Are you going for bulk or for tone?
Well, if you're going for tone, I can tell you that actually the perfect mix, I should say, of protein to rebuild muscles and restore fluid and electrolyte loss.
That is good.
All that is available from chocolate milk because, Derek, this has inside of it, what would you like to tell me, please? Has
as much potassium as a full banana. Mm-hmm. Sorry, full banana sounds weird.
Okay.
One banana. As much
vitamin A as what? 2 of these.
2 hard-boiled eggs.
That is correct.
And as much something as 10 cups of raw spinach. Iron?
No.
Folate?
No.
Sodium?
No.
No, not sodium. We talked about sodium's bad.
Starts with a C.
Carbohydrates?
No, not carbohydrates either.
Calcium?
Calcium.
Yes.
That's correct, yes. So basically it's like taking 2 hard-boiled eggs, a big old handful of spinach, right, and a banana, and then you have the wonderful taste of chocolate milk. All available, perfect workout, post-workout.
Which tastes a lot better than hard-boiled eggs. I can't do it. I love all types of eggs. I can't do hard-boiled eggs for some reason.
How about Cadbury cream eggs?
Ooh, love them. Yeah,
Well, then
really,
you'd like-
really sweet, though,
then
so
you'd
I can
like
only do
chocolate
one.
milk.
Yeah. Winner of the week, Mick Cronin. Had a really successful run at Cincinnati, but was a guy who, despite a lot of success in the regular seasons, really didn't do anything in the tournament. Cincinnati only made the second weekend once with Mick Cronin. They made a Sweet 16 in 2012, I think.
Is Mick Cronin's dad the sister Jean of this year's
Yeah,
tournament?
it's kind of a cool story. He had a couple of 30-win seasons at Cincinnati where they didn't even reach the second weekend, and now with this UCLA team that barely got into the field, I mean, they were running on fumes. They had lost their final 4 games of the season. And to get into the first 4 and now translate into the final 4, good for him. He's a good dude. I don't know if you remember this. We had him on the show once to talk about Lance Stevenson.
That's right.
Yeah, years ago, and was a really, really cool guy when it came, not only that conversation, but was really enthused to talk about Lance, which I thought was neat.
I will go with actually the guy that he's going to face in the Final Four. And my winner of the week is Mark Few, because even though Mark Few has, look, there's what can you not say about Mark Few, right? I mean, Derek, do you realize that he took over at Gonzaga in the 99-2000 season? And since then, he has never had a season of fewer than 24 wins. He has had like 4 30-win seasons. And you could say what you want about their league. I get it. He's won 83% of his games.
Yeah.
And now he's on the doorstep of history of potentially an undefeated 32-0 season matching a 45-year mark that has yet to be done.
Yeah, what's been so impressive is that they're now matching all of that regular season success and backing it up with tournament success. Because for a long time there for Gonzaga, from like 2012 to 2015 or 2014, they had a lot of teams that fell well short.
Right.
Where, remember they got bounced by Wichita one of those years where they were losing to lower seeds or they were getting destroyed. I remember in 2009 they had a good team that got absolutely eviscerated by North Carolina in the Sweet 16. And now they're going to Elite Eights and Final Fours like it's no big deal.
Right.
But he's done an amazing job there. 22 years ago, I was in Tracy, California. I flew out there with my mom because my cousin, her niece, was born around Christmas of '98, and we went out to see my uncle and all of that. And
Is
he
this
was
the uncle
living in
that
Tracy.
doesn't believe in vaccination?
This is a different one.
Right.
And we watched the UConn Gonzaga Elite Eight game from his house. And I was 16. And I remember thinking to myself, UConn hadn't gotten to the Final Four yet. They had
This
lost.
was Dan Munson's Gonzaga
Yes,
team, right?
they had lost a bunch of times in the regional finals. And I was thinking, Gonzaga, they're not going to lose to this. John Stockton's alma mater, like that was their only relevance. And Gonzaga led at halftime, and they were within one late. It was a close, I don't remember it was like a 4 or 5 point game. And UConn, of course, went on to win it all. But it's crazy to me to think that you've seen it kind of come full circle. Corey Kispert, who's their All-American, was born in March of '99. So this is like their,
Full circle,
a
right?
full lifetime
Right.
of some of these players is how long Gonzaga has now been nationally relevant.
The campus itself is very similar to Butler. I've been out there in Spokane, and it's a beautiful school, and it's about the size of Butler. It feels like you're on the Butler campus when you're at Gonzaga. John Stockton's father, when I was there 20 years ago, just drove through with a couple of buddies. His dad was still a bartender in Spokane. And
Is it a cool town?
Spokane,
or is it just like a kind of middle of nowhere, whatever?
Spokane is pretty. It's in the eastern part of Washington. The Columbia River, I think it is, goes through it. I would say that
Is it border
Spokane,
Montana?
Yes. I mean, 100 miles probably.
Or
so,
Idaho?
I think. Oh, no, Idaho. It's the
It's
no, wait a
the little sliver of Idaho. Is that the easternmost border of Washington
correct.
State?
The north, Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, and then you go over into the
United
Columbia River
States
Gorge, and then
map.
you go probably 100 miles into Spokane.
Okay.
But I would say Spokane is like Fort Wayne in terms of its size and its what it looks like. It's pretty. But we went. My buddies and I went to have lunch at Senior Froggy's, and we had some bad tacos. And we
What is?
Well, we went to Senior Froggy's in Spokane to have lunch, and then we're like, let's go check out Gonzaga. And so we drove to Gonzaga's campus, and it was like a Sunday, and everything was closed, and we very hurriedly had to find a men's restroom.
Do you know what Yelp
Something
is?
didn't go well at Senior Froggy's.
Go to Yelp and look up local places, and if they're 4 stars or higher, that's my threshold. Then that's where I'll go. But
Yeah.
I'll never go to like a Chili's or whatever else. I just won't.
Well, first of all,
Senior Froggy's?
you don't think Senior Froggy's is local?
No, it's a
You've heard-
chain.
Are you sure?
Yes,
How positive are you?
like 100%. I think I've been to a Senior Froggy's,
Where?
like Columbus, Ohio,
If it was
somewhere somewhere
if it was
totally
the one
random.
in Spokane, the day that I was there, they had some bad meat. I can just tell you that because we were in a big hurry to get to Gonzaga.
I'm sorry. I might be thinking of Senior Frogs.
Okay,
Was it a Senior Frogs or a Senior
I think it
Froggies?
was Senior Froggy's. Look up Senior Froggy's in Spokane, Washington, and see if anything comes up. All I
do.
know is
I see it right here.
Huh?
Senior Froggies, Spokane.
Okay, what comes up?
It's actually got 4.5 stars on Yelp.
Okay, this was 1997, so we couldn't reference Yelp.
Yeah, they've had a couple of changes of ownership since then. That has
Does it?
helped really kickstart it. Yeah.
So-
They offer brunch on the weekends.
They do?
Yeah, it's
Okay.
very good. They grind their own coffee beans.
Really?
Yeah, it's a nice
Okay.
place now. Senior Froggies.
Well, let me tell you something. It was jumping beans is what they gave us that day because it jump-started everything.
Yikes. Biter Bowl Bleep,
Biter Bowl
and
Schultz.
we'll wrap up the show when we come back.
All right.
It's Query and Schultz, ISC Sports Network. Sorry, I was looking at the wrong camera.
Shocker.
From long workdays stretch into more labor after sunset. A newborn calf needs watching. Barn needs cleaning. Tractor needs some handiwork for tomorrow's tasks. Just like in your own home, the day's chores are never done until the family beds down for the night. Dairy farmers and their families share the same dream with all of us, that what we all do is worthwhile. Bringing to market pure, safe, and healthy dairy foods is what they do, from Indiana's dairy families to ours every single day. Learn more at winnersdrinkmilk.com.
We're a different breed, aren't we? While others rest, we choose to work. Where others are content, we stay hungry. They may not see us coming, but we know exactly where we're going. You won't rest until you succeed. Neither will we.
Your life is on the go. Now your viewing habits can be on the go. With the ISC Sports Network app, your team is at your fingertips. You can download years' worth of content from the ISC Sports Network library. High school, college, special events, weekly and monthly shows, wherever you find your favorite app. And you can always find out more information at iscsportsnetwork.com.
Back for a final time. It's Corey and Schultz here on ISC Sports Network. Thanks to Jordan Shue and Greg Rakestraw behind the scenes for this is a rake term, making sure our signal gets to you. But that's more of a radio term than a TV term.
Yeah, you're right. It is.
Yeah. I don't think people really think of TV like signal, even though it's technically a signal, right?
Is it?
Well,
it's all
when
done
it's
by
satellite
fiber now,
involved, I guess it is.
Okay.
I don't know. We'll have Jordan grab this in post. I'll do a new intro here, so what you're seeing right now, this will never see the light of day.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, Jordan will hear his name a few times.
Yeah, he will.
Yeah.
I'll make sure to mention that in the edit, that Jordan's name once again. We got Bite or Bowl Bleeps to get to, but we were just on a restaurant topic, and I wanted to fit this in because I thought it was interesting. You had mentioned going to a downtown establishment with Shannon.
Yep.
And asking some of the servers, hey, you've had thousands of
right.
college basketball fans come in here over the last couple of weeks. Who are the best? Who are the worst? And you even had like categories for everything, which I just thought was kind of a fun topic.
So I asked, I won't say the name of the establishment, but we went downtown, and it was pretty crowded down near Georgia Street. Everybody was safe. That was good because the weather was beautiful. So we were sitting outside in a tent, and I asked our server about her, I don't want to say her, but I guess I just did, about her experience serving college basketball fans with this unprecedented. And by the way, Derek, the first semifinal game in the Final Four will be the 200th career NCAA tournament game played inside the state of Indiana. But anyway, I asked, and I said, hey, I want to ask you about some of the fans. So a couple of the other servers came over, and they were kind of having fun with it. And I said, okay, let me give you the category, and you tell me your answer. Best fans. And they kind of debated amongst them, and they're like, well, the best tippers were Arkansas. They're like, Arkansas people were really good about tipping. They were super generous, da-da-da-da. But the most chill and the most just kind of laid back were USC fans. They were low maintenance. They just, whatever was on the menu was fine. They were cool with it. That doesn't surprise me. And then I said, okay, what about the worst? And they said, well, not the worst, but the rowdiest by far. The biggest partiers, the loudest, they're drinking galore was Arkansas.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me. Yeah.
But she said, they got away with it because they were great tippers. They were nice people. They weren't
jerks. They were just having a good time.
Correct. They're just having a good time, and that makes sense because. And she's like, and there were thousands of them. Makes sense because Arkansas. I mean, that's the team in the state of Arkansas, right? I mean,
basketball school.
Kind of like Connecticut.
Yeah.
I mean, once the Whalers left, right? No pro sports in Connecticut.
Well, UConn women. That's basically a pro team.
Right. You're
they've
right.
been to like 18 straight Final Fours.
You're right. At any rate, so Arkansas got that award as well. Then they said the most normal fans, and I said, what do you mean? They go, felt like they were from like Carmel or, Beech Grove or whatever, Michigan. Like Michigan fans
I saw
were
a lot of Michigan fans around town.
Which makes sense because, for the obvious reasons.
Yeah.
And I said, okay, worst. And I mean, the whole group.
Without hesitation.
No hesitation. I mean, it was like they were chomping at the bit to out this. They were all, literally all looked at each other like, Creighton. Like, oh my gosh, they have no idea how to tip. They were rude. They were entitled. They were complete jerks.
Wow.
They were unaware of anybody else being around. They were nonstop high maintenance, and they were cheap. They're like, Creighton was the absolute worst.
Man.
The Blue Jays. And
Yeah, Omaha.
there wasn't big bills because my understanding is they ate like birds. But, yeah, they said no go on Creighton.
Well, that was a fun topic until you killed it with that joke.
That wasn't a joke there at all.
Eat like birds?
Huh?
Eat like birds?
There's nothing wrong with that.
I would think, salt of the earth, Omaha, middle America, be nice folk, kind of like Indianapolis.
That's
surprising to me.
I did see a guy in an all UCLA outfit. I mean, like full head to toe. And I said, hey, question for you. I always ask this to people. Now, are you from UCLA and you came to Indianapolis for the tournament? Or you live in Indianapolis and you happen to be a UCLA fan? And the guy said, nah, I'm from Jersey. You're from Jersey. How are you a UCLA fan? They got an assistant coach from Jersey City. He got me tickets to the game. I actually went to the game at Hinkle. Hinkle, I went to the game, and I told my buddy, I said, that's where Hoosiers was. And he said, I said, no, it's Hoosiers.
Every accent that you have is exactly the same. Like Boston, New York, they're different. But I like your accent for, like, East Coast guy.
So, and he was exactly what you'd think from a Jersey guy. And he said, what about you? You like UCLA? And I said, I grew up a huge Steve Alford fan, and he coached there, so that's cool. And I said, but around here, of course, Reggie Miller.
Yeah.
And this is exactly what he said. Reggie Miller's from here. No, he played here, but he went to UCLA. Reggie Miller, UCLA.
I don't know how many people know that, because that was a really forgettable era
goes back to
of
my
UCLA
earlier point, right?
basketball.
Yeah.
Like, he made the tournament and stuff. They lost Indiana one of the years, didn't they?
Defeated Indiana in the NIT finals.
Okay, that's what I'm thinking.
In his sophomore year.
But that was not, 1980s UCLA basketball was whatever.
You're right.
That was not a great era. Whereas the 90s, obviously, they had the title and some good teams, and Ben Howland teams in the 2000s, and then, of course, Wooden and Walton and Kareem in the 60s and 70s. Let's get to Bider Bobley. Brought to you by our friends at The Shop, theshopindy.com.
Fabulous T-shirts.
Clay Terrace.
Speaking of Reggie right here.
And the Strip in Broad Ripple. If you want to go into the brick and mortar stores. They're gearing up for their Indy 500 gear coming up here because, God, the race is like 7 or 8. It's crazy to think about that. It's going to be April by the time a lot of you are watching this episode. Here's what we do. I give a statement. Jake and I go back and forth whether we buy it or it's Bobley. You ready to go, Jake?
Yep.
Statement 1, Gonzaga will go down as one of the best teams ever. Buy it or Bobley?
Buy it.
I mean, they're undefeated.
They are. Derek, I realize they play in the West Coast Conference, and you can say that their competition is not what it was for. But, I mean, UNLV. UNLV in 90, which had one loss, they lost to Arkansas and then came back and blew out Duke and won the national title and were undefeated in 91 until Duke got them back. UNLV didn't play in a Power 5 conference, and historically people still talk about that UNLV team. Gonzaga, in terms of the way that they execute, they've got a fabulous player in Suggs that's running the show for them that I think should be the number one player picked in the draft. They are fantastic. Their offense is as efficient as I've ever seen. They absolutely take advantage of any mistake you make. You get a sliver of light to get through the door, and you are done with those guys.
Yeah, I mean, and
I think the world of them.
In their non-league, they shredded West Virginia. They beat Kansas. They put up a $102, I think, on Iowa. So they more than held their own non-league. Yes, the West Coast. I mean, it's a high school league that they play in, which is frustrating. But what are you going to do? They don't have football. You know what I mean? So you can't put them in the Pac-12. And there's really, what are you going to do? The Mountain West? Who cares? That's not much of a step up from where they are. And that has helped them run the table as opposed to being in the ACC or the Big Ten. Like, I get all of that, but you can't discredit what this team has done, especially if they go undefeated. They're one of the best offensive teams I've ever seen in my life. And they'll probably be one of the 5 best teams of my lifetime if they end up winning it all.
Right.
But that Vegas team is up there, and they didn't win it all. That Vegas team would be in my top 5. So, yeah, I mean, I definitely buy that as well. The NCAA tournament should choose one city to go to more often.
Boy, I'll tell you what, it's hard to argue that. Although it has worked out really well. I went to a game, I think I told you, Derek, and it was bizarre being in there because there were like 600 people, and it was deathly quiet. But on TV, it looks good. Kudos to Ryan Vaughn and Brett Kramer and everybody at the Sports Corps for pulling this off. I mean, it truly is remarkable. But the part of the magic of the tournament is looking to see the different places that teams go. And I think for the teams as well, it's fun to be able to travel and see different cities. It's what college is all about. As much as I love it and as much as I give Indianapolis credit for pulling it off, I do think the old way is the way to go.
Yeah, it's a national tournament,
It
and
is.
I like the regions being in, L.A., and then there's one in Charlotte, and then there's one in Indy, and,
Right.
All over and then there's one in Dallas. You know what I mean? I kind of like the fact that it was spread out. Selfishly, I enjoyed it all being in Indianapolis.
It was fun back in the day, Derek, to know, to look at the bracket and say, oh, man, we're coming out of Knoxville and merging with this team that's coming out of, Greenville. You know what I mean?
I miss that kind of aspect of it. And geography also helps favor teams for earned advantages. So I would lean towards that as well. Last one here, April Fool's Day. Worst day of the year on the internet. Buy it or bull bleep. It's up there.
May 4th, very high.
Oh, May the 4th be with you. Yeah. Or May 1st. It's gonna be May with the Justin Timberlake thing.
The Justin Timberlake thing is way up there.
Yeah, it's kind of annoying. People don't really do April Fools anymore, do they? Because we take everything so seriously. You can't even, if you're a brand, and I'm not talking about me, I mean like a fast food brand. Let's say you're Wendy's. You couldn't even put out a joke because people would take it seriously and then they'd shred you.
Well, I think everybody knows now, right? I mean,
people are really dumb. People are really dumb.
Is it the worst day on the internet? No, but it's close. I'm going to put May 4th up there.
Yeah. Or every 4 years in an election cycle. That's usually one of the worst days of the year, too.
Yeah.
But April Fools, ugh. Just forget it. I remember actually, speaking of, because Greg Rickshaw was in the other room, we were co-hosting together. We did an April Fool's joke on our show that Matt Painter had taken the Memphis job, and the Purdue Gold and Black Knucklehead Central message boards picked it up. And then I felt really bad afterwards.
Really?
And then they got really mean. They said those guys are jerks, and
well, they're right.
that one guy's shorter. I mean, obviously his career path is crazy, crazy high, his ceiling, but he's kind of a jerk too. And that motivated me to reach that really, really high ceiling.
What was the
that
website
poster
that called
talked
you a
about.
jerk?
Goldenblack.com.
Okay.
Yeah.
They picked it up.
There have been a lot of websites that call me a jerk, Jake, because people hate success. And so that's – I think it's more of a jealousy thing than anything else. Kind of like you with me. Whenever you knock me. I know that's where it's coming from. It's coming from a place of envy more than anything else.
I'm just going to put on my sweet ball lid.
Next week, we will have a national champion. We will talk about that on the show. Back to Tuesday. Obviously, this was a one-time deal with the games concluding last night. So we appreciate you guys making the change with us. But we'll be back, ISC Sports Network, ISCSportsNetwork.com, all of our socials, and QuarrieandSchultz.com if you want to check it out next Tuesday.
All right. Sounds good.
Until next time, thanks to all of our sponsors, and thanks to you guys. We'll see you next week.
Drink your milk.
We're a different breed, aren't we? While others rest, we choose to work. Where others are content, we stay hungry. They may not see us coming, but we know exactly where we're going. You won't rest until you succeed. Neither will we.
You're watching Query and Schultz on the ISC Sports Network.
You can't get enough of them.
You can't get enough of us. Good one, J-Man.
This is the worst scandal. This might
This
even
is
be...
worse than steroid. Not so fast.
Are you going to watch the XFL?
I'll probably watch a little bit of it.
You want to go through and pick some games?
No, I don't. No, I don't. I really don't.
Indiana dairy farmers provide us with safe, pure foods for our tables. A responsibility that takes intuition, resolve, and determination to make sure their milk is good for you and delicious to taste. Their connection with our community runs deep, passed down through the generations, ensuring that milk is always available at your store. It's not easy being a dairy farmer, but the rewards have special meaning when you can feed Indiana's families every single day. Learn more at winnersdrinkmilk.com.
Oh, my God.
We are ripping fast today.
How hard can it be, right?
These are now selling for about $3,500. So we're back to our old ways of pulling rocks.
Act like idiots on camera, open cards, and talk about the hobby.
At an Indiana dairy farm, long workdays stretch into more labor after sunset. A newborn calf needs watching, barn needs cleaning, tractor needs some handiwork for tomorrow's tasks. Just like in your own home, the day's chores are never done until the family beds down for the night. Dairy farmers and their families share the same dream with all of us, that what we all do is worthwhile. Bringing to market pure, safe, and healthy dairy foods is what they do, from Indiana's dairy families to ours every single day. Learn more at winnersdrinkmilk.com.